little bit more demanding. It also focuses on both American Jewish history as well as biblical history and traditions, but it also has a worship requirement. It is a 3-month process because the scout is required to attend at least one Shabbat service per month for 3 months and to write a report on one of the Torah readings that they observe each month. The Scouts BSA medals, the Ner Tamid and the Etz Chaim, have far more requirements. And probably the seminal requirement that I point out to most scouts that I talk to for the Ner Tamid is that they're to be a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. The reality is that most scouts or most Jewish youth who complete bar mitzvah, do the studying and all the requirements for that, will probably, in the course of that study and preparation, complete probably about 75 or 80% of the Ner Tamid, either by learning or by doing. So a bar mitzvah, and if you have a scout who has been bar mitzvahed but has not earned the emblem, you could point out to them that it's not going to be too hard for them to be able to reach that achievement and get that medal. The Etz Chaim, which in my council we have awarded, although it is difficult and far more demanding, the Etz Chaim is designed for older Scouts BSA, while the Ner Tamid is for basically from crossover up till about age 15. The Etz Chaim is designed for older scouts through venturing age. It has a great many demands. It's really requires you to become knowledgeable and involved in your Jewish community. And I'll just give you a couple of the examples. They want to find, as part of the Etz Chaim, you have to research the your Jewish community. For example, you would need to find out where the first Jewish cemetery was established in your community, the first synagogue. You would, as part of this, also attend Shabbat services regularly over a 3-month period, and in the course of that, complete a number of reports on what you observed, including discussing Torah portions, describing the service. One of the other things is to obtain a copy of a Jewish newspaper that serves the community or the region, and to write reports and locate information in that. So as you can see, the Etz Chaim is far more demanding, but also can be extremely rewarding. And when we get to presentations, I will talk about a little bit about one of my experiences in awarding the Etz Chaim to a scout in a very mixed troop and the impact that it had. In addition, and I know we're having time on it, so I'm going to be very brief, there are several adult and unit awards. The Shofar is the adult award. It is by nomination, and you would need to go online to see what the various criteria are, but let's just say it takes a while, and you really need to contribute to the committee and to Jewish Scouting to be eligible for that. As an aside, I was the chairman of the Jewish Committee in South Florida Council for, I think, 5 years before I was nominated. So it's not a giveaway. There are 2 other awards. One is the Frank L. Weil Award, and the Weil Award is for Jewish Scouting units. And if you look at and go online to the Jewish Committee on Scouting website, you can look at the requirements. They look a lot like Journey to Excellence. And you have to achieve a certain gold level of Journey to Excellence to be eligible, but there are additional requirements, and you can investigate that. Finally, the Mortimer Schiff Award is awarded to Jewish committees and councils. And that's really far afield from what we're talking about today, but if you're interested in that, you should go online to the Jewish Committee site to take a look at that award as well. So I think I stayed within my 4 or 5 minutes, And those are the basic awards that we are talking about for the next 20, 25 minutes this morning.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to introduce Beth Albee, who teaches the Cub Scout Awards, Aleph and Maccabee, and Richard Simon, who teaches the Boy Scout Awards, Scouts BSA Awards, Ner Tamid and Eitz Chaim from the Heart of America Council. Two quick comments. One about the presentation. Heart of America Council and Sam Houston Council are always neck and neck every year in the most religious emblems of all faiths. So it's a very strong element of the Heart of America Council. The other thing is to remind everyone, we've got 44 windows open, and you need to be able to mute yourselves, because I can mute you, but then I mute the speaker. So I can't mute just one at a time. I can only mute everyone. And once I mute you, I can't unmute you. I can only ask you to unmute. So I can't mute you really. You're gonna have to mute yourselves. If only one person isn't muted and you have background noise, that's going to ruin it for everybody. So make sure you mute yourself and then unmute yourself when it's time to speak. Finally, just a reminder, ask your questions in the chat room. The presenters will watch the chat room. I'm watching the chat room. I will try to answer as many as I can, and we'll let the presenters answer the rest. So Beth and Richard, take it away.
Hi guys, I'm Beth Albee. I am Cub Pack Master for 3153. I'm Cub Master. And I am in charge of doing the Aleph Awards and the Maccabee Awards for Cub Scouts. So there was a question about the service requirement for Aleph. I personally accept a Zoom service. I know our synagogue offers services, daily minyan services, as well as Shabbat services. And yes, even though there is not a minyan, I really am not caring about the minyan part. I just want them to sit through the 3 services. If they want to do that 3 weeks in a row, I'm good with that. I don't require a minyan. However, they do have to look up their own Torah portion of their choice and write me a report on that Torah portion. It is their choice on which one we're doing. You have to make allowances for COVID. It's just the way it's going to be. So in my pack, I have around 35 kids, and we usually get between, I'm going to say, 6 to 7 Maccabees and about 5 or 6 Aleph Awards every year. We make it a huge deal because not only do they get presented their awards on Scout Sabbath at our synagogue, which is Kehillat Israel Synagogue, but then they go to then I and a few others go to the various synagogues and we'll hand them their patches and do another presentation at their own synagogue. So they really love that fact that they get up a couple of times and get applause, and they get their awards and they get on the bima, and that's a big draw. I do a workshop every year to get both Maccabee and Aleph done. Maccabee takes around 2 hours. Aleph, the actual sit down work takes about 3 hours. We take brain breaks where they get up and do jumping jacks or get up and run around the room, or we get up and we play the hokey pokey, whatever we need to do to give them a brain break. But they really do manage to get through it in that one session, with the exception of the Aleph Award requirements of being in services for 3 months and the report that they have to do. And we take honor system on the services, and they have to turn in their report before they're allowed to get their Aleph Award. And we've had great success with the fact that they know that they're going to get a patch on their uniform. They're going to get a medal. They're going to get to stand up at KI and hand their award. They get to stand up at the synagogue of their choice and hand their award. I do not take into consideration if you are unaffiliated at a synagogue. That is a choice between you and your family, and I don't want to get involved in that. But if you want to get the Aleph Award and you're not attached to a synagogue, I can't fix that. So I try to work around it. But a lot of the people have figured out that they can go into any synagogue at any time and sit through a service and not be a member of that synagogue. I think I answered all the questions that were in the chat.
Thanks, Beth. Richard, would you like to add about the Boy Scout Awards?
I will. I'm going to share my screen. Cool. Can you guys see that?
It's working.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Beth. So I'm in Kansas City also, and I'm chair of the Jewish Community of Scouting and also committee chair of our Troop 61, which is sponsored by our synagogue, Beth Shalom. So just a couple things of background. I grew up in St. Louis. I earned the Ner Tamid as a boy. Only way I found out about it was I was looking in the book, and because I was 17 and I was looking to do something more for Scouts, I saw there was an award. I've got all the requirements. I went and showed it to my rabbi in St. Louis, learned it, and then that's where I'm at the Jewish Committee on Scouting in St. Louis. So I certainly want to make it a lot easier for kids than what I had to go through to do it. So a couple caveats though for Kansas City. Being sponsored by the synagogue helps a lot. So we're always emphasizing that. Another thing is we have an additional honored camper program. We do Order the Arrow, but we also do Mikaseh, and they have a bead for recognizing people earning their religious award, which is you wear it right next to your Eagle Award bead. So there is a lot of recognition there at camp and in our council. So I think that also helps a lot. And then like Beth said, we have the Scout Shabbats every in February's. We do them at all the various local synagogues, so we recognize kids there. And that's one of our recruiting ways of getting kids who aren't in our troops, who are tied to the synagogue, and they'll see, and we'll talk to them and include them in the class and go from there. So those are a couple things. So the first thing is, the big thing we've had for success is having that champion, like Beth for the Aleph and Maccabee Awards. I've been doing it for a while for Ner Tamid. We've had some of our teachers do it before that were associated with our Sunday school at the synagogue. We had one of the clergy at actually the synagogue that sponsors the Cub Pack. They led it. We were able to work with them, an involved parent. That's another way we've been able to get other people involved, is because I always need too deep leadership, and I'm able to recruit somebody to help me. And that also gives the kids another perspective and another voice. So it's just not me droning on. Big thing for me is the deadline, which that Scout Shabbat certainly helps. Have a deadline, have something, a goal to shoot for. Like I mentioned, we have the 3 Scout Shabbats that we have. Beth Shalom's a conservative synagogue, KI is a traditional synagogue, and then Beth Torah is Reform. And we just actually started going into the Reform into Beth Torah to do that. So that's been very nice. The big issue is recruiting kids within the troop. That's of course easy, but getting friends of boys, getting the Jewish kids that are in the other troops. We do put something in our local Jewish newspaper. Friends of friends that we know of. We have people in other troops that we are friends with, and we talk to them. So we do that. And another thing is we do lead Jewish services normally at summer camp. This year, of course, won't be happening. But members of the Jewish Committee on Scouting, I've gone. Norm has gone. Ted Goldstein's on there. We go down there, and we will also meet other boys that are that aren't in our troops, and we'll reach out to them, and we'll be able to get them involved and let them know about about the Ner Tamid Award. And then I just break it up. There's our troop at camp. We have a little chapel there. There's a row of chapels for all the different denominations, and we're lucky that someone had donated this and also put some nice stained glass in it for us. So very nice place to do. So that's our troop. And then, like I mentioned, we'll lead services for the weeks where our troop is not there. Somebody from Jewish Community of Scouting. And so actually in this case, I think most of these kids were not Jewish. They were just interested in seeing what a Jewish service was like. So it became a learning service, which was very nice to be able to spread that. What's worked for me is scheduling like 4 or 5 classes for Nertamid, doing it for about an hour each, giving the kids homework. I've had better luck not having the classes right before scout meetings so that they're not there that long. Do that. I use the template that's on the National Jewish Committee on Scouting website. I do give them homework. I think like Steve mentioned before, usually the first, second year scouts, they're working on their B'nai Mitzvah is a great time to do it. We do get a few kids that are afterwards who have put it off. And then again, Steve was talking about the Etz Chaim. We've had a couple kids earn it. It's been a harder sell. For kids, we have a couple kids that have been interested and they've started and then haven't followed through. So it's there. It's just been a much tougher sell for us to do, but the Ner Tamid has certainly been the focus. So that was my part. If anybody has questions, but I certainly enjoy it.
There are a lot of questions in the chat room, Richard. You might want to take a look now that you've finished presenting, and I'm going to call on Barry Hantman from the Daniel Webster Council. We are right on time. Barry, you've got 7 or 8 minutes.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen here with everyone.
Good.
You should see it in a second here, hopefully.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so as Norm said, I'm Barry Hantman. I'm with the Daniel Webster Council in New Hampshire. So New Hampshire is not known for its Jewish life. It is not a hubbub of Jewish activity here. There are less than 3,000 Jewish households in the state, very few synagogues. Many of the Jewish children in the state are from mixed faith families. Some don't practice Judaism at all. There are no Jewish sponsored units in the state. So all of our Jewish scouts that we have in Daniel Webster Council are in units sponsored by things other than a synagogue or temple. The reason I mention that is because that means it's all the more important that we get the word out to all of the scouts that are Jewish to give them a sense of community and make sure that they feel that they belong, even though they may be the one Jewish scout in their troop or in their whole area. So when a scout earns their religious award, we make sure that that scout gets the appropriate recognition. And in our council, we try to recognize the scout on 4 separate occasions, and I'll talk to each of these, but at the local unit court of honor that they have, at their local synagogue, if they're a member of a synagogue, at the council's Scout Shabbat service, and at the council-wide religious award breakfast. Again, I'll talk about each of these. In addition, all of the scouts receive a recognition letter from the Northeast Region Jewish Committee on Scouting. So when they earn their award, they will also get a letter from the Jewish Committee. So as I said, we like to recognize them at their unit court of honor. There aren't a lot of medals that a scout can earn that they can wear on their uniform. The religious award is one of the few, and scouts like bling, okay? A medal is something new, something different. The other scouts in the troop don't have it. Once one scout earns the medal and starts putting it on their uniform, everybody else in the troop wants a medal on their uniform. So it's actually very contagious. And as I said, in units that have many different religions, then they each start researching their own religion and earning their own medal to wear on their uniform. As I said, we also like to recognize them at their local synagogue. If they're a member of a synagogue, we have a member of the Jewish committee that comes out to their synagogue, and as part of one of their religious services, Shabbat service, we'll actually present them their award in front of the entire congregation, lets the congregation know a little bit about scouting, gives the family a chance to kvel a little bit about their scout and stuff. It's really great to have the community at their temple and scouting come together, especially in a state with very few Jews. We also do an annual Scout Shabbat service. We invite 2 different BSA councils, again, because, you know, New Hampshire doesn't have a lot of Jewish Scouts. We also invite the Girl Scouts of the USA to join us, 2 different Girl Scout councils. We get 75 to 100 Scouts and Scouters that attend this. And again, we'll represent the award as part of that Scout Shabbat service and give the Scouts a chance to be recognized in front of all of their peers. We try to make sure that the Scout Shabbat service gives the Scouts a chance to be engaged in it. We let the Scouts parade in with their flags to start the service. Scouts love their flags, love to parade in with the flags. It's a good time for them. Anybody who wants, we give them a part in the service. They can lead prayers. We make sure when we do the Kiddush, we invite all the Scouts up on the bima to have some grape juice, not wine, as part of the Kiddush. We recognize all of those that earn their religious awards. And we try in our Scout Shabbat service to make it a fun service for the Scouts by using some tunes that they'll recognize even if they don't go to services regularly. So for instance, we like to sing a Don Olam to the tune of America the Beautiful. Even if you're not familiar with the tune or the words, everybody can hum along. We try to make sure that our Scout Shabbat services have patches for everybody. Scouts love to get patches, and the Scouters too. Everybody gets a patch, and we try to make sure it's a really nice patch. Bruce Strager, who I know is on this presentation here, is the designer of all of these patches. We make sure we have a very nice patch for all of our Scouts every year. The last place we recognize them is at our Council Recognition Breakfast. This is a recognition breakfast for Scouts of any denomination that have earned their religious awards. So we bring in everybody together. We usually have well over 100 Scouts here. We try to invite in a guest speaker for this that will resonate with the Scouts. You want to have someone that the Scouts can really connect with. So this past year, for example, we had a Catholic priest who had served in the U.S. Army in Afghanistan, who happened to be a former Scout camp staff member. So definitely could talk to the Scouts and talk to them about his military career and his religious award and his religious background and stuff. And we make sure that every Scout gets a certificate and a patch for attending the recognition breakfast. And this is just the certificate and the patch that we make sure every Scout gets as part of that. One of the things that all Scouts like is food. Whenever you have an event with the Scouts, make sure you think about the food. The Oneg Shabbat, the meal after the service, is as important as the service. It really gives a chance to talk to the Scouts afterwards, both the ones who were in the awards and the ones that haven't yet. You get to talk to them about the various religious emblems, tell them about how religion and Scouting go together. It really gives a good opportunity to talk one-on-one with the Scouts and get them interested in Scouting and Jewish Scouting. One tip is to make sure that you serve food the kids eat. Think chocolate and not veggies. So in summary, we want to make sure we recognize all of those that have earned their religious awards early and often. Make a big deal about it. Absolutely. Make sure the Scout knows that even though they're the only Jewish Scout in their area, that we recognize them, that we support them, and that we're there for them. And don't forget the things that make an impression on the Scouts: an engaging speaker, nice patches, and great food that they like. And
Thank you very much, Barry.
I would like to can I make one more comment about
You may.
running? Okay, about running your Maccabi and Olive program. If you don't make it fun, they will not come back and work on their Olive. If they're there for the Maccabi and it's boring and they don't have fun and you don't have snacks and water and you make it fun during it, they won't want to come back and work on their Olive. If they don't want to work on their Olive when they become Boy Scouts, they won't want to work on the rest of the badges. So you absolutely have to know that you need to bring the fun into your work. So that's my only thing. Make sure that when you're doing the Maccabi and the Olive emblems and you're having your workshops, you need to have the fun. You got to figure out a way to bring it in.
Thanks, Beth.
Can I
Just add to that for a second, Beth, that make sure that you have the the right rabbi leading any services and things. There are lots of rabbis that are fantastic rabbis. I love them, but they speak to adults and they're not used to speaking to kids. And you need to make sure that you get a rabbi, a speaker that will engage the youth, because that's who we're doing it for.
Okay, let's all go to our clapping hands and show everybody, the faculty, how much we appreciated them and for staying on time. We are now going to move to the next part, which is Scouting for the Jewish Family and Integrating Girls. We have 4 faculty: Beth Albee, whom you've just met, who has a Cub Pack; Andrea Barron, who is Assistant Scoutmaster for a Scouts BSA troop; Jeffrey Cohen, who is Scoutmaster in the Silver Spring, Maryland area for an Orthodox girls troop; and Amanda Lorentz, who is in the Northeast Illinois Council. So let's start with the Cub Scouts. They've been in for a year longer. Beth, I'll turn to you first, and Andrea can talk about Scouts BSA. Jeffrey will then talk about Orthodox girls, and Amanda will be our cleanup.
So it's really interesting because when we brought girls in, we thought when this originally was going to start that it was going to be a bang. And it wasn't a bang, it's a trickle. But now, after we've been doing this for a few years, my wolf den, which I am co-leader of also, along with being Cub Master, is 50% girls, of which one is my own. And our tiger den this year was 50% girls, and our lion den is actually 70% girls. So they're wanting to be in. Our biggest problem the first year was verbiage. We would get up on stage during pack meetings and we would say, okay, boys, and you can't do that anymore. It's okay, Cubs. You have to watch your verbiage to make sure that they feel included. And what was really interesting is that when we went to things like Pinewood Derby, we have extra activities that we do during Pinewood Derby. And we had to make sure, like, let's put an art project in. And in fact, we found out the boys actually really like doing the art projects too. So when things like we do a regatta float, the girls are a little more decorative in the regattas, but the boys really enjoyed that too. But our biggest problem was verbiage. And I'm going to tell you, as soon as you get a girl or two in a den, they go back to their friends at school and say, oh my God, Cub Scouts is so much fun. So really it is word of mouth. And during those first den meetings, make sure you go to your parents and say, hey, if your daughter has friends that she would like to bring in, now's a good time for them to start. And in a way, that really is how we do it. We do it by word of mouth, just like with Cub Scouts. We go to the synagogues and we go into their classes during Sunday school and Wednesday school, and we bring those girls the knowledge that they can join Cub Scouts by saying, hey, wouldn't you really like to learn how to shoot a BB gun? And wouldn't you really like to take some hikes with us and learn how to use a pocket knife? And wouldn't you really love to learn how to do cast iron cooking? And these are all things that girls, there's no outlet for them in a just girls area. And they're finding out that they're more welcome in Cub Scouts to do all of those fun things. So we really hit those Sunday school classes. And we also have a day school here in Kansas called Hyman Brain Hebrew Academy. And I go in there during lunch, and I get permission from the principal to go in during lunch, and I come in uniform, and I bring pencils, and I bring chocolate bars, don't tell, and I bring all sorts of fun games for them to do during lunch. And by the end of it, the kids are riled up and they're excited, and they go home with this piece of paper that says, come to this adult information meeting, I want to join Cub Scouts. And truly, that's how we do it. So it's really about getting the girls excited to do the things that they have traditionally not been allowed to do. In Cub Scouts and into Boy Scouts, they're finally allowed this outlet. And for Jewish girls, oh my gosh, that's like a first time that they've said, I'm going to put a BB gun in your hand. I'm going to put a bow and arrow in your hand. I'm going to put all this stuff and put it to you to do. And they're super excited. But if they don't know about it, if they don't have the the knowledge that it's okay and that it's good and that it's available, you're not going to get them. So really, when I do recruitment, I push hard at the synagogues and I push hard at the schools.
Thank you, Beth. So those girls will cross over eventually and go into a Scouts BSA troop. And Andrea Barron is the Assistant Scoutmaster of such a troop. Andrea, what are your comments about Scouts BSA, which is a year younger?
Sure, yes. And we are very excited to have those Cub Scouts cross over. Recruiting in Scouts BSA has been a little more difficult, mainly just because by the time kids are in 5th and 6th grade and older, they often are already set in a lot of what their activities are, and they're very busy. And so when we first found out in, I guess it was around October of 2018, that we were going to be able to charter new troops with girls, we looked into chartering a girls troop here in Kansas, in the Kansas City area, but we needed 5 girls to be able to do that. And we were not able to come up with 5 Jewish girls, and not that we wouldn't have been open to other girls too, but we were trying to create an intentionally Jewish troop. And so that's where our recruiting efforts were focused. And so in that process, we, as I talked to other leaders who were also starting to charter girls' troops, the local large United Methodist Church, I spoke with the gentleman who was going to be the scoutmaster at that troop. And I said, you know, we need to partner with someone, but we'd like to be able to partner with someone who, when we do have enough momentum, we'd like to be able to have a Jewish girls troop, to be a partner troop with our Jewish boys troop that we have here in town. And they were incredibly welcoming, and this happens to be a church that is already very welcoming and helpful with the Jewish community. They actually have opened their buildings to hold high holiday services for a synagogue that didn't have space. And so it's been a really great partnership. And I did notice in the comments that there are some of you on this call who are with church-sponsored troops, but you have multiple Jewish members. And I just want to say thank you for your welcoming and your partnership in that. So, you know, I know that there are obviously lots of troops out there that have Jewish members. But what's been great about this partnership is that everyone in the troop, not just the Jewish scouts and parents, but everyone in the troop sort of calls our troop a half Jewish troop. It's, and then frankly, the other kids are not necessarily all Methodist, but everyone sort of understands that that has become part of the culture and identity of our troop. We make an effort to make sure, and we have Jewish Scouts of different observance levels. We have Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. So we try to make sure that for every camp out that Scouts can arrive before Shabbat starts on Friday so that they can participate without having to drive after Shabbat begins. We are conscious about food. Not all of our food is kosher, but we always make sure that there are sufficient kosher options. And we make an intentional effort to not have pork at our events. And that's been hard for some of especially, frankly, the leaders. The kids do not care, honestly. Even the kids who have no food restrictions, frankly, they're happier eating the veggie sausages at breakfast than they are eating meat sausages. But we make sure that there are kosher options and vegetarian options at all of our meals. And so it's really just been a partnership. And the hope is that when we do get these the younger girls who come up and move into our troop, that we hope to still charter a Jewish girls troop. But what I expect to see is that we will still partner together with our current host troop, and that we will still do activities together, because these girls have made connections, and they really enjoy scouting together. And so anyway, so that's been our experience thus far here in Kansas City.
Thanks, Andrea. And again, there will be questions in the chat room for you as well. Let's move to Jeffrey Cohen, who is Scoutmaster of an Orthodox girls troop in Silver Spring, Maryland. Jeffrey.
Hi, good morning, or I guess it's morning for everybody here, unless you're overseas. Good afternoon, evening. So as Norm said, I am the Scoutmaster of an Orthodox girls troop here in Silver Spring, Maryland, chartered to a modern Orthodox synagogue. For those who know, it's Kent Mill Synagogue, that currently charters also our linked boys troop that has been in existence for I don't even know how many years, but both of my, or all three of my boys went through the Cub Scout program and the, at the time, Boy Scouts. One of them is still in the Scouts BSA boys troop. My older daughters did Girl Scouts through about middle school and then joined a venture crew when they were older. And my youngest had seen all of this go on and was very excited when she heard from me that the BSA was going to start allowing girls into the what was then still called the Boy Scout program. This goes back probably a year before they started allowing officially the troops. So we already knew it was coming, and she was excited to finally do what her big brothers had done. And so the way we started our troop was a little bit different, perhaps. I started reaching out to our boys committee to make sure that they were comfortable having a linked troop. I got the committee chair to sign on, and then went and talked to the charter org, the head of the charter org, and explained what we were doing, what the BSA was doing, and what we wanted to see in a girls' troop, and with some slight changes or expectations that a charter org is allowed to put on our program. They approved it, and we began recruiting. Now, my daughter, being gung-ho, recruited our first additional scout at a summer camp she went to in Baltimore that summer. And we continued recruiting by word of mouth, essentially. And by the end of that year, still several months before we could officially become a troop, we already had 5 young ladies who were ready to join. We continued recruiting, and in fact ran into some younger siblings of scouts from the Baltimore area who were also looking for a troop, and they joined our troop and were part of our founding class of scouts. So we started with 7 scouts, I believe, but very quickly those 2 scouts from Baltimore were able to establish a troop of their own and broke away from us, but that was fine. More scouts in more areas is always a good thing. And I think what has surprised most people about our Troop for Orthodox Girls is the types of activities that they are looking for. Our very first activity that the girls planned, because we let them put the calendar together in the pre-launch day time period. We had them put together the calendar, and the very first event we did was rifle shooting at an indoor range. Our district commissioner attended and was just so amazed that this is what girls, let alone Orthodox girls, would want to do as their very first activity. We've since gone back to the same range. They enjoy camping, hiking over, climbing over rocks on the trails that we do. So it's been a really great experience for them. We attended summer camp during what was intended to be an all-girl week in New York last summer, joining with other troops from the Northeast and Northeast Illinois. You'll hear from Amanda shortly. We had a couple of scouts from her troop join us in a contingent that had a great time at Forestburg Scout Reservation in New York last August. We would have been back there this August, except as we all know, the coronavirus situation. I think I saw a question come through the chat. What types of changes did the charter org want to see? And if Norm's okay with me answering that question now, I'll go ahead and do so. The question was about the changes the charter org would want to see. And it wasn't just for the girls program that they then wanted to see changes. It was also for the boys program. Now that the program has become co-ed, they wanted to make sure that certain types of activities would be limited to single gender to make it fit more with the Orthodox Jewish practice, primarily in the area where they would be perhaps not dressed in the way that they would normally be dressed. So things like swimming and other aquatic activities should be single gendered, and also had concern that the boys should also have that opportunity as well for their aquatic activities. I saw another question come through about finding female leadership. So I have that challenge that the previous speakers did not have, in that when you have girls, and I'm a male scoutmaster, when you have a girl troop, they must be, there must be a female leader, registered female leader present at all activities. So yeah, that's been a challenge. I did get one of the mothers to agree to be an assistant scoutmaster, and she has been wonderful, attending most of the activities. There have been some that she had conflicts, and that's where it's become a challenge. I've had to recruit females from other troops to assist in some cases. I have recruited former leaders of our boys troop and parents of the scouts, moms of the scouts, to just register as merit badge counselors, so that they are registered, they take the YPT training, and then we can have the event. Obviously, if there are things like swimming events where I should not even be present with the scouts, then I need 2 female registered leaders, and it becomes even more of a challenge to me. But as we expand, as we grow, I'm hoping that becomes less of a problem, and we get more of the moms of the scouts involved in some way, shape, or form.
Jeffrey, thank you very much. I'm sure there'll be other questions for you too. But let's now finish with Amanda Lorentz from the Northeast Illinois Council. Amanda, you're on.
Well, I may not look or sound like Amanda, and that's true. I'm Howard Prager. I'm chair of the Jewish Committee on Scouting in Northeast Illinois Council. And Amanda is a psychoanalyst, and she's on a crisis call right now. So I'll fill in just a little bit, and I'm not sure what she was going to say, but let me tell you about our girls' troop that she leads that's been going on for a year now. And I think, Jeffrey, she's connected with you and some other leaders as well. So we have 5 girls. We're both sponsored, both the boys' troop and the girls' troop, by the same unit, Congregation Beth Shalom, or same sponsoring organization. We get together for the flag ceremony and the closing ceremony, and then we split up. So the boys go downstairs where they meet, the girls go into the library. The girls program has been, as it got started, it was very much driven by Amanda and her co-leader Violet. They helped them through advancement, especially through the beginning ranks. Now the girls are choosing what they want to do, and they are gung-ho on advancement. They are moving just very, very quickly. They're doing a beautiful job, even on Zoom services. I'm thinking about shul. Even on Zoom meetings, they do an excellent job, and even completed communications and salesmanship merit badges on Zoom, and did a fabulous job when I heard the girls give their presentations, and they did terrific on these formats. It is a conservative / Orthodox troop, so everything is Shomer Shabbos and kosher. They do have outings. Girls love to go on outings. We have not had one yet where the boys camp and the girls will camp next door. We want to do that, but believe it or not, the girls have had and organized far more activities than the boys have. And so a little bit like Annie, get your gun. Anything you can do, I can do better. And they are really taken to scouting. As I say, are advancing well. As a matter of fact, we've got a star board of review this week from one of the girls. It is really a very rich program. The girls are all in middle school, 7th and 8th grade. So that's a little bit about them. I'm filling for Amanda. And I'll leave it over
Thank
to
you, Howard.
questions. Sure.
So we have, we're going to be right on time. We're going to finish at 5 minutes before the hour. That gives us 4 minutes for questions that you can do verbally. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself, identify yourself by name and council, and to whom you are addressing your question.
Norman, can I add one last thing before we
Yes,
open?
Jeffrey, go ahead.
It was just stated about that Amanda and I have been connected and been in touch with each other. As I mentioned, some of her scouts came with us last summer to camp. We also have created a nationwide network, both in WhatsApp and regular, I'll call them virtual roundtables for Scoutmasters of troops for Orthodox girls. We currently have 8 troops from Boston, Baltimore, Silver Spring, White Plains, New York, Brooklyn, New York, Northeast Illinois, Houston, and Los Angeles connected together. And we are, as I said, we have a chat going on that's been going for probably 6 months now. And we had our first roundtable in early June. We'll be doing them every other month. It's been a great opportunity for us to learn from each other with these new troops that are specialized in meeting the needs of the Orthodox Jewish Scouts.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Does anyone have a question?
Norm, can I make a comment?
Phil.
So one of the things I put into the chat, and I think has been brought out in both sessions today, is the importance of the role of the local Jewish committees on scouting. So even if you don't have a robust Jewish committee on scouting in your council, that's not a reason why you can't form such a group. And it's also not a reason why you can't join forces with other councils to hold events that would be of interest to Jewish scouts in multiple councils. So I'm hearing that from some people, but I think both for obtaining religious emblems and for Shabbat programs and so many other things that we do, there are really councils that are preeminent in doing this. Suffolk County Council is excellent. My council and the National Capital Area Council has been working with the Baltimore Area Council, and it's and maybe about 3 or 4 others. And so at events that we sponsor or want to work on, we have participation from scouts from a very, very large area. So with that, I just want to leave that as something that people could consider.
Well, we have come to the end of our allotted time, and we're supposed to allow you a break before you go to your next session. So let us take this opportunity to thank our speakers for the second session. And I want to thank all of you for participating and being so interactive with this particular session. That's just so helpful. There are 48 windows open. There's more than 50 people. You're all going to get a certificate of attendance. You're all going to have available the link to this recording. And if you want to get in touch with any of us, just contact me. I put my email in the chat room, and we'll follow up. So thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of your course. Tomorrow, hang on, tomorrow I'll just remind you what we're doing tomorrow in our course. We're doing formation and support of a local Jewish committee on scouting, which is a real challenge, and just what can the Jewish committee bring to a council that the council would perceive as helpful. This is going to be a really important session about how to be helpful to your council as Jews. So see you all tomorrow. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Norm, this is Mike Nathan.
Hi, Mike.
Was able to come on today. We pushed our camp assessment back until next week, so I'll be with you the rest of the week.
Thank you. Great to see you.
All righty, sir.
Nice background, too.
Great job,
I
Norm.
like it too.
Norm,
Very nice
thank
job.
you for all of your hard work. We all appreciate everything you've
Hey.
done.
I don't do anything unless you're able to do it and be out there. So thank you, Beth. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jeffrey. You're the ones that make this valuable for people. And as you can see from the chat and Barry, it is valuable for people. So thanks very much.
Norm,
Yeah.
from the rest of the planning committee for this event, I'd like to say thank you. You were the chair, but it was the rest of the region chairs that helped with planning this whole event.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Mike is Southern Region Chair. Phil is Northeast Region Chair. Frank Udelman, who was on yesterday, is Western Region Chair. And I'm the Central Region Chair. So thank you all.
All right. We'll see you
Norm.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Norm, wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you, Earl.
Take it easy, Norm.
Thank you.
Hey, Norm,
Yes.
you there?
Yes, I always
It's
hang
Ted.
out to the end because when I leave, everybody leaves. So
Everybody
I'll wait till
leaves.
the end.
Couple of things. I'll give you a buzz at home.
Okay.
Nice job. It's so far so good.
Yeah. Thanks, Ted. Thanks
I
for all
gotta
your
try.
help.
Yep, I gotta try to figure out how to do some of these attachments
Okay.
and whatever. I
All
don't
right.
know how to do that, but I'm gonna give Richard a call.
Very good. Great.
All righty.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All right.
Yeah, congratulations to all. Congratulations
you.
to all. Thank you ever so much for doing
Thank you.
this. I apologize, I
Steve.
don't know how to get into a chat room.
Oh, well, you can speak up, Steve. You don't have to go to the chat room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Uh-huh.
Norman, to all of you, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. I've just
Thanks, Phyllis.
so much
Thank you.
information. Everybody's learning from it.
Good.
Great.
So far, so good.
Keep up the good work and stay safe.
Okay, you too. All right, I'm going to end because I've got a grandkid to go take care of.
Have fun being a grandparent.